today we have been butchering our meat chickens. So we had our friends helping us out, and so we did a lot of them. There was 53 of them, and so now we're down to the last two. So now I am going to show you how we did it. All right. So first we have to wear gloves, of course. We've been switching out gloves a whole bunch because depending on which station you are in and what part you're doing, you will want to switch the gloves depending on what you're doing. So our first step is to catch them and to cut their heads off. That's how we're killing them. So I think you could do it a couple different ways, but here we cut their heads off. So like I said, there's only two left. And so we just catch them like this, like that, and then we're going to take them to the cone. We kind of have to do one at a time because they're very big and very heavy, and they don't hardly fit in the cone well because they're so big. Kind of high. Alright, so this is how you use the cone. You put them upside down, and then you pull their head out like this. Okay? Now, you have to let them go, but don't let them fall out. And then we're going to cut their heads off, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we took it out of the cone, and now it has been killed. Now, our next step is to put it into this hot water. Dip it for about 35 to 45 seconds at about 180, 185 degrees. That helps loosen up the feathers before it goes into the plucker. So here we go. And I'll count. And you want to make sure it all gets submerged, the feathers, or they won't get plucked off very easy. And a tip, if you pluck it and the feathers are not coming off, that means you didn't do it long enough or hot enough. Okay? Now we need to turn on the plucker first before we put it in there. I'll come over here and you can see what happens. Now I'll put him in there. And look, he barely has any feathers on him. Now, our next step is coming to this table. This was our plucking table. So, this is where any other little feathers we need to pluck off. Okay, so now, out of the plucker, this one was too. Now, difference is here that see some of the skin ripped? Right here too. So I must have had the chicken in the hot water too long. A little bit too long. This one, just a smidgen right there. So not bad. So that's why you just kind of have to, goes back. I mean, you can't do it perfectly all the time. But if you kind of just do it the best you can, like I said, maybe 30 seconds instead of 35 to 40. So I should have counted maybe only to 30. But it's okay. It doesn't ruin the chicken. Just parts of it, the skin will be off. So like I said, at this station, now the legs get cut off. This tail area gets cut off. So you don't have to worry about the extra feathers there. And the neck gets cut off as well. So you just really are worrying about the feathers, the extra pin feathers and things like this that are on the parts that we will be keeping, that we will be eating, right? So we just kind of flip it over. They come off really easily because they've been in that hot water and have already been in the plucker. So I did a really bad job on this chicken because he looks a mess. His skin is busted everywhere. But sometimes that happens. But we're doing our best here. Get all the feathers off. And a couple of feathers here and there will not hurt you. Of course, you want to try to get as many off as you can, but don't feel bad if you leave a couple. It will be alright. So now once we get this done, this plucking, we will go on to our next station, which is the gutting station, off of the different parts that we do not use. Now, some people use some of the parts that we don't use. So some people, I think I heard somebody say that they use the chicken feet to make chicken broth. So when you cut them off, you could save them to make chicken broth. But also, when you cook this chicken, the bones make it's a wonderful chicken broth just cooking this chicken. So you don't really need those, you don't really need the feet. Now we have been using these two tools to help us pull out any of these little, see, I mean, that doesn't even come out. I'm going to have to use this one. To get any of these, look at this. It doesn't even, well, then those are not coming out, obviously. So, some of the feathers don't come out. And then also, some people like to keep the gizzards, kind of like a turkey, right? Some people like to keep the hearts. So we here don't do that, but if you wanted to, you could surely do that. Okay, so now we are done with the plucking. So now we're at the gutting and cutting off the extra parts table. So I just want to show you before we do that. Let me flip this chicken over. Now, here is its tail. So we're going to cut its tail off first. Some people use the tail, my husband just told me, but we don't. So we're going to cut that off, then you get rid of it. Then this little part right here is called the vent, and so we're going to cut around that gently, but you don't want to cut into it because it would be a mess. It will not be pretty. And then you're going to cut off this section, and then it just kind of falls, and then all the guts come off, and then you reach your hand up under and pull out all the guts, which we will not show you what that looks like, except for I will show you one thing. Because some people would like to go fishing, right? And this is a chicken liver. So if you were doing this at your own house and you kept the livers, you could freeze these and then you could go catfishing, right? With fresh chicken livers. Also, one of our friends who helped us today, he likes to keep the chicken hearts. This is what the chicken hearts look like. This is a bag of the chicken hearts. So we don't do that, but he likes them. So that is his bag. He will be back tomorrow to pick them up. And so after you got those guts out and got the liver, then you could reach up into it and get the heart. Okay. Okay, and then after you do that part, you come up here to the neck, and before you actually cut the neck off, this part right here is called the craw part. That's where like the digestive, where they keep the food, when the chicken digests food, they have to use that craw. So, excuse me, so this is where some of the food is stored while it's digesting it. So you have to cut that off because we obviously don't want that in our chicken. Now, we stop feeding our meat chickens 2 days before butchering because we want the least amount of food in this chicken, what it has eaten. So so we're going to cut that off. Once this is cut out, we will cut the neck off. I will show you that, and then the feet. So, all right, so we'll be right back. Okay, so now we have the guts out. As you can see, we came over here, took the craw out and the neck. Now I have cut off one of the legs. Now I will show you the next leg. So right here is a joint. You can feel the bones. You can feel it here. You're in between the two bones is where you want to put your knife. Like so. Cut down. And you can cut down all the way or like that. And then I will cut up like so. Off. Chicken leg. Chicken foot. We don't need it. Now, the last step before packaging it is into ice water. So we have our tanks lined with a drop cloth to keep it clean with water and ice. Now, This is bloody water at this point because we have done 53 of these, but it's still cold water. So we put him in here because a key to butchering any animal is you must get it chilled as quick as possible or the meat will not taste well. Same with deer, pigs, cows, goats, turkeys, chickens. Must get it cooled down. So once, because it goes through all that. First of all, it's alive, so it's hot. It's going to go in that hot water. Needs to be cooled down. So now, after this, we'll let it cool down for a minute, and I'll be right back, and I'll show you how we package it. Our last step is bagging them. So they've been in this ice water for a little bit, and now we get them out like this. Dump as much of the water out as you can. Then we're going to take them over here. Right here is where we're going to pat them dry with just a paper towel. They don't have to be completely dry. You just pat them dry. A few more paper towels here. Just pat them dry like so. And look how nice they're looking. This is going to be a very delicious chicken. We like to get our chickens pretty big, as you can tell. Of course, it's preferable when you do your own chickens. You don't have to get them that big, but I have always thought the more meat you can get, the better, right? Okay, so that's like that. Now, these are the bags that we use. We have to use extra large chicken bags because those chickens are extra large. So give me a second. I'll show you when they're in the bag. Okay, so now, and they go head first into the bag. See, head first into the bag. And then when you buy the chicken bags, it comes with a straw. This is a flexible, stretchy straw. You need to place it, and it tells you directions that you get, so you don't have to remember what I'm telling you. But you put this in the chest cavity like this. It helps have the air escape when you're bagging this. And then you wrap it around like this. This is what I do. I try to get a little bit of the air out before. Then I twist it. Now the instructions instruct to put the zip tie around it now before you dip it in the hot water. But we haven't been doing that. So we do that after. So, because you can get more air out of it if you need to after this part before you put the zip tie. Now, the water temperature for the bag dipping has to be 185 degrees. 185 degrees. You're going to dip them in for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, okay? Depending, you can always dip it back in if you need to. So here we go. Be careful though, because it's hot. So, see, you push it in. Not all the way in, because you want to hold it up. You want to hold this part. And, just a couple seconds more. And then we're going to pull it out. Now, like I said, I like to get a little bit more air out over here. And it takes a second for it start to suction in, which is okay. But see, I'm just going to suck it like this, and I heard air coming out of it. So, which is good. And then this will suction in. Now, we must take off the straw, pull it out, but keep it tight, okay? Then we like to spin it around again, tight, and then we get the zip tie. Zip tie, we must zip tie it, like so. Now, my daughter was helping today with the bagging, so she was helping do this part, and then we trim it, trim the top, trim the zip tie, and now you have a whole fresh farm butchered chicken ready for the freezer. Very heavy, let me tell you, it's very heavy, but looks delicious, and we're very blessed and thankful that we get to raise our chickens on our farm and to share them with all of our friends. Have a blessed night. Bye.